From now on, it's all elimination games in the AFL finals. Collingwood and Brisbane booked home preliminary finals, and it leaves the losers with a second chance at survival. It's semi-final time in the 2023 AFL finals, so let's look at each game and make a prediction. The Friday night matchup sees Melbourne and Carlton play in front of what will be a huge crowd at the MCG. The D's inefficiency cost them against Collingwood. Injury and suspension will also cripple them. The Blues held off the Swans in an even team performance and have much room to improve still. 69 inside 50s to 37, 12 centre clearances to 7, and 14 more contested possessions. On paper, Melbourne did everything well against the Magpies, but they simply couldn't score. Collingwood have a top-tier defence, but throughout the match, Melbourne's forward line looked dysfunctional, with McDonald, Smith and Van Rooyen struggling, with the latter mentioned missing this game due to a clumsy hit on Dan McStay. The entries inside 50 weren't great, and the D's missed plenty of shots at goal. It's a glaring issue that will only get harder to solve. No Brayshaw may limit Petrarca up forward, but maybe Grundy comes in for Van Rooyen. It's a shame as most aspects of Melbourne are in good order except the scoring element. It puts mountains of pressure on Bailey Fritsch and Keziah Pickett as the two most creative and threatening forward half players. Melbourne may even lose some grunt in the midfield by taking Petrarca out and making him an almost permanent forward. They are big decisions to make. Carlton led from the start against Sydney and were up by 29 at halftime before the Swans clawed back to make a game of it. Carlton had 10 more inside 50s but did only win clearance by 1. The midfield battle for this final will be critical to decide the winner. Cripps was well held by Mills, but winger Blake Acres was outstanding, while Walsh, Chera and Hewitt worked in combination well. This Carlton side is well balanced, and you would think that Charlie Curnow will improve upon his one-goal performance, even though Stephen May is an equal opponent. Harry Mackay's goal-kicking woes were on full show, but he will miss through concussion, making selection interesting. Jack Martin is also suspended, so his unique forward ability and polish is maybe a bigger out than Mackay. Carlton could go smaller with a Durden type, or bring in Silvani if he can recover from his knee injury. Like Melbourne, the change in the forward half may be the difference in the game. The defence once again performed well, with Wiedering repelling many Sydney attacks. Without a high-level opponent against the Demons, he should control the airways again. Most finals are tough to pick, and this is no different. Both are strong contested football teams with great defences, so the only difference is up forward. Melbourne's forward line is a mess, but perhaps that could be a strength in a weird way. Maybe Goodwin and his staff will be forced to deploy Petrarca forward, or maybe bringing Grundy to play Gawn, who has a toe injury, as an inside 50 threat. But on last Thursday it was hard to watch. On the other side, Carlton have Charlie Curnow. He's the best power forward, and it's time to take over a game and kick 4 or 5. Mackay out will give him space, and the Smalls will be at his feet all night. Martin is a big out which will fly under the radar, but the edge goes to Carlton purely on Curnow. It may be ugly at times, but Carlton will pull away late to win 77-64 and move on to the Gabba to face Brisbane. Saturday night sees Port Adelaide host the GWS Giants at Adelaide Oval. Port hung in for a half against the undefeated home Lions, but fell away late, while the Giants rolled the Saints and impressively repelled a couple charges. Port are banged up, especially in defence, but losing to Brisbane at the Gabba has no shame. They did beat the Giants by 51 points in round 22 in an impressive display. Stoppage scoring has been a strength of the Power, but they got destroyed by a physical and sharp Brisbane midfield. Port actually won clearance by 4 on the night, but it seemed any time Brisbane got a stoppage out the front, 6 points ended up on the scoreboard. It was bad, but it is more than likely going to be an anomaly. Wines was well down on form, but Butters and Rosie were passable, and Horn Francis had his moments. In front of a roaring Port Adelaide crowd, they will be better. Defensively, Trent McKenzie and Dylan Williams are looking unlikely, and it is a huge issue. Tom Jonas and Tom Cleary are out, so there are no other key defenders to replace McKenzie, and even Alir has been on a modified training program this week. Charlie Dixon could return to to give a power target, but that defence looks really vulnerable. The GWS Giants are rolling along nicely. Their quality showed out against the Saints with the cream of Josh Kelly, Tom Green, Lockie Whitfield and Lockie Ash rising to the top. The forward trio of Brent Daniels, Toby Bedford and Toby Green continues to cause headaches and will definitely be a huge concern for Port's defence. Even Jake Riccardi and Jesse Hogan combined for 5 goals, and with the Power's key defenders all hurt, it's a point of attack the Giants can use. Their run is the talk of the town, and from defence they can stream out and use their kicking skills to carve teams apart. The mental side is fascinating as well. There is no doubt all the pressure is heaped onto Port Adelaide, and the Giants will play with the freedom and never die wondering attitude they have all year. The Giants are the definition of a danger team. If there is a team to match the Giants' speed, then Port Adelaide are close. The midfield of Rosie, Butters and Horn Francis are a great matchup for the class of Kelly, Cornelio should he return, and Tom Green. Kieran Briggs could be the undersold star of the game if he keeps playing his physical best in the ruck. A lot of people will jump on the Giants, but the Power don't back down easy. The loss to the Lions was no embarrassment, and the crowd support to start the game will be truly electrifying. If Dixon returns, the morale boost will be uplifting, but he will need to perform, especially if Marshall is out with a hip. And if Mackenzie misses, a small defence may be a point of difference instead of a weakness if the Power can counteract the Giants' run with their own. It won't be 51 points like in round 22, but Port Adelaide, led by the young midfield, will even outclass their Giant opposition and win 113-90 in a high-scoring clash. So there are the semi-final matchup predictions, and hopefully we can get some great finals football.